So we've got some injuries at defensive tackle. Hankins and Nichols. Pretty big ones. We're already like, it's ironic being thin at defensive tackle because they're like the fattest dudes in the team. But we're a little thin at DT, right? With Hankins and Nichols on the physically unable to play list. We got some other injuries, which we'll get to in a little bit. Chandler's missed 4 straight practices. Kyler Fackrell, injured reserve. Micah Kaiser on IR. But it's the defensive tackles that make me raise the eyebrow the most, because which player in free agency has the biggest spotlight on him for the Raiders to pick up? Ndamukong Suh.
You've been practicing.
The hardest part about having Ndamukong Suh potentially be a Raider is I have to learn how to spell his name, let alone pronounce it, right?
Suh, S-U-H.
So with defensive tackles dropping like flies in Las Vegas, does Ndamukong Suh have this whole new leverage over the Raiders? Because we've been talking about how his agent's trying to make it sound like the Browns are in, the Browns are out, the Vikings are in, the Vikings are out, Raiders are in, the Raiders are out, right? Like he wants as many people involved in the bidding process as possible. Maybe he doesn't even really need to pretend like other teams are that into him. Maybe the Raiders just losing D tackles and nose guards so quickly is going to make them desperate enough to come knocking on the door of Ndamukong Suh. Because if Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler aren't calling Ndamukong Suh's agent right now, they're not doing their job. And you know that he's sitting by his phone saying, all right, boys, I can see that training room pretty full of some 330-pound dudes that have jersey numbers that start with a 7 and 8.
No more room in that hot tub.
You're gonna need my homie. You're gonna need my boy from Nebraska to fill in.
Yeah, I'm convinced there's been constant contact between Ndamukong Suh's people and the Raiders throughout this whole process.
I would hope so.
Even throughout this whole process.
I still think it's less than 50% chance we sign him, but there still should be constant contact with a player of that caliber and the need that we have.
My concern for signing Suh was we signed a lot of free agents and we used a lot of draft capital on that position specifically. Now that we see that 2 of those players are going to be out at least. Not at least, they could come back at any time because it's a pup list, but got 2 guys out. Depending on the severity of those injuries and when they expect Bilal Pala and Johnathan Hankins to be back, and also how these young guys progress. I think that the Raiders are going to kind of stand firm on their offer until they get a little bit more clarity, maybe 1 or 2 weeks into the preseason, maybe 3, because we got four games this year, until we really make a solid offer, because ultimately Ndamukong Suh can just jump in there and start playing, as long as he stays in shape. But we'll see what the young guys look like, and if they turn out to be world beaters, at least good, not just more than serviceable and decent, but guys that can actually get some snaps. I think it's a little bit less likely that we get Suh.
We haven't heard any recent leaks in the last week or two about
nothing.
Suh, which is a sign that tells me a couple things. It tells me, like, as you pointed out well, like maybe these young guys can fill in that role fine.
Gotta give them a chance, though. You have to give them a chance first,
right? Yeah, let them give it a whirl. The Raiders aren't feeling desperate to fill that role.
No,
because Suh's available, and they could get him for $7 million. I think easy. I think if they said, "Hey, we'll give you $7 million 1-year deal," I think Suh would sign like that. So I think, and that's nothing crazy, right? We got $20 million in cap space free.
Yeah.
Like that's, if we were desperate, he'd be signed right now, right? So obviously Ziegler and company aren't feeling desperate. So I think it's a combination of everything that you said. Giving the young guys a shot, like they're confident enough to give them a shot to fill that role. They don't feel so desperate where they can get a guy semi-cheap, semi-quick and easy, like Ndamukong Suh. But it's now the question is, like, is that misguided faith? Because I kind of feel like they're looking at defensive tackle the way they're looking at offensive line. We got all these young guys that we feel like we can coach up and we'll be fine. These guys that played terrible last season. We feel like the momentum that they built, Like they did play better as the season went on. They did play better, not good, but better in weeks, 14, 15, 16, 17. We can keep the momentum going. Again, I keep repeating my theory. Not that I'm saying it's the winning theory of Josh McDaniels, but I think the theory is we just keep a young crew that can stay healthy and let like uniformity and them working together as a team be the strength as opposed to spending big money on good individuals. I think that's their theory based on how they're handling free agency. I feel like they're kind of doing the same thing at defensive tackle right now.
I think the theory going forward right now, or for right now and moving forward, is going to be, let's see how they handle a specific game plan. So they're going to put a specific game plan for week 1, week 2. Let's see like how they can handle that, because we know the veterans that are out there. We know what we're getting with those guys already. We can get them late in the preseason and have them jump in at the end. If there's a train wreck at any position, we can always go out and get a guy that can just slide right in, because we know what we're getting with these guys. Like for example, you're using defensive tackle. They can wait until a week before the season starts to sign Ndamukong Suh, because it's a Ndamukong Suh. He can go. You know what you're getting with him. Slide him in there. He knows the calls. Good to go. As far as the young guys, you need to get them some run. Let's make sure and see what they can do. See how they can handle this play. A different scheme, a different game plan every single week. That's not just a different plan to a specific team, but like the entire defense probably is going to be a little bit different. And then I think that's what they're doing with the offensive line as well. They're saying, okay, let's actually see these guys play. Let's see them handle it against another team, so we can make an evaluation that way. Because if we have to get a guy off of the scrap heap somewhere in free agency, we'll know what we're getting with the guy, and he's going to be serviceable.
I also feel like Ziegler has his ear to the road and realized, like, no one's knocking down the door for Suh. Like, we can wait.
Yeah, we got time.
Congratulations for making it all the way to the end of our video. If you want Darren Waller to catch 20 touchdown passes next season and for Max Crosby to have 30 sacks, go ahead and subscribe and click the next video.